Welcome in. My name is SparksOpus, and I love video games. It has been discussed to the point where people are simply tired to hear about it. Videos criticizing Tears of the Kingdom for various reasons. Even bigger creators are now making videos on why they are dissatisfied with the game. And in the comments you will find people talking about fanboyism. Is that even a real word? I don't know. And people setting their expectations too high and expecting too much from Nintendo. There's also talk about Nintendo giving zero damn about the good story or a timeline and the continuity of games and whatnot. Now, just before I start, I will talk about it from my side of things and why I believe that things turn out the way they did. And in my opinion, you're free to disagree and leave your opinion in the comments. All I'm asking for is to keep it friendly in the comments. Let's start about people saying that the expectations for the story were too high. And look, I expected something better and more fleshed out myself. Why? Well, for this one, I blame Nintendo. You see, even from the first teaser for Breath of the Wild, the main focus was the open world. Even for the next few trailers, the focus was always the exploration part, the world that you will uncover. It only really happened with the final trailer in 2017 that Nintendo showed off some actual story for the game. And nowadays we all know that the story was definitely not the main focus exactly of the game. But still, for example, the environmental storytelling did a lot for this game. You could also find various pieces of information talking about the land of Hyrule, also the diaries from the King of Hyrule and Princess Zelda, which added quite a bit to the background for the characters, including Link himself. But the game was called Breath of the Wild, and the lack of a proper story kinda made sense. Hyrule is destroyed, nature took over, and even the memories were disconnected from each other, and offered you a glimpse to the various moments in the past. For what Breath of the Wild was, it made sense. What did Tears of the Kingdom get? Right from the very start, a heavy focus on the story, a mystery that you have to uncover. Is that Ganondorf? Or even Demise? Are the vocals reversed in here? Is there a secret message? What do they say? Poor Hyrule, for Link has found the body? I'd like to throw in, just because it popped up in my head right now, that every time I see a discussion about Tears of the Kingdom somewhere online, I always see the words "in comparison to Breath of the Wild." Almost always. And thing is, Breath of the Wild brought in a lot of new people. Folks that never played any other game in the series before. And if I saw people complain about Tears of the Kingdom, it's mostly people that, just like me, have been playing the Legend of Zelda games for far longer than just Breath of the Wild. And we drew parallels to, for example, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. And that here, Tears of the Kingdom will have a much darker tone and will be more story-focused, using the same assets but still making it feel like a completely new experience. But fast forward on the Ganondorf part, when is Ganondorf relevant? At the start of the game? During 2 or 3 short memories? And at the very end. And that's it. And once again, if you played the earlier games in the series, you know how important of a role Ganondorf usually played, and also how involved in the story he has been. Here, Ganondorf just drops underground and vanishes for the rest of the game. Where's the threat? I feel like I sometimes even forgot who the enemy is. But going back again, a second trailer, after being scary again and showing that the game will have a much darker tone, it shifts to 180 degrees and has a high focus on sky islands. Heck, even Aonuma talked about the sky being a big inclusion and that we will go even further beyond. And Skyward Sword came to our minds. We saw patterns of aerial combat with our bows, and it sounded like we will get some massive sky islands to explore, and a lot of gameplay happening there. But what did we get? One single interesting sky island and 2 quote-unquote dungeons, but I'll get to that later, which we are kind of forced to explore anyways. And after that? Copy-paste labyrinths, these skydiving mini-games, I mean they were fun, but only for a few minutes really. Some orbs and nothing else really. And more copy-pasted single mini sky islands everywhere. The sky is empty. It really is empty. 95% of the gameplay that is happening is still on the surface. I don't fully understand. Why was it such a big focus in the trailer and the promotion of the game? I think it has been falsely advertised by Nintendo again, because they really don't matter that much. And it set the wrong expectations. And I see already some comments saying you shouldn't have any expectations at all. But what are trailers for then? Trailers should show what to expect in the game. And you know what Nintendo should have done? More of that. Because that's the only thing I see online. Most people don't give a damn about the story or lore or whatever, which is also connected to the part where I said that mostly older fans complain about it, because the story played almost the biggest part in Zelda games before, and Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom brought in a big, more casual audience. That's just how it is. Which is also part of the reason that anything related to those games, and now especially Tears of the Kingdom, people are in love with it and calling it the best game ever made. Because of this and that. The sandbox part of the game, which, don't get me wrong, is mad fun. It's brilliant in every way. But it kinda sucks as a Zelda game. But there are a few more points I'd like to touch upon. The third trailer, also like the Breath of the Wild one, heavily focused on both the story and gameplay. But in retrospect, it almost feels like they showed everything that could be shown anyways from the story part. The big issue is that the story in Tears of the Kingdom tries to be linear through the memories and events happening, like the islands where you'll receive a certain item. Actually, wait, this video should include spoilers. Okay, so yeah, I'll do that. Mineru's mask, right? Retrieving the Master Sword, which has absolutely not the design as seen here in the logo. Like, it has barely changed. The situation in the castle and everything else, really. You could get this cutscenes where the fake Zelda is revealed and Queen Sonia dies right at the first one, which shouldn't happen. And also the lack of continuity even to Breath of the Wild and all of that. And of course, people are already typing that it doesn't matter, and who cares about the story anyways? It always has been vague. Zelda has been always rather story focused. If you want to play a game that isn't focused on that, then you can play a Mario game or Donkey Kong or whatever. But The Legend of Zelda was always about having an epic story and lore going on. Majora's Mask was the direct sequel to Ocarina of Time. And in Majora's Mask, the game starts with the ending of Ocarina of Time, even with a memory of things that have happened between the games. And heck, even Wind Waker had the ending of Ocarina of Time included, and with the timeline in mind. I recommend the video by Zeltic on that matter if you're curious. It obviously contains spoilers though, but Nintendo had the timeline in mind. And that was sick. That was cool. And I already once again see people typing, that's just to please you whiny fans. But I don't see it. Nintendo never had to do that. but they insisted to create a book about the lore of the series and also include a timeline. Nintendo wanted to do that. And look, you can still make a game that's fresh and feel new, and still respect earlier games in the series. And for example, throwing DLC and amiibo items into the depths from previous heroes is... why really? Going for the first time into the depths was cool, absolutely. But once again, in retrospect, what's the point? Me, for example, I play through Breath of the Wild to 100%. And I also have gotten some amiibo stuff. Besides having to run through the almost identical world again, the amiibo items, that's all you can get down there. There's like 2 new editions for armor, but that's it. Also just a single new enemy down there, Froxus. Tears of the Kingdom was born out of too many ideas for Breath of the Wild, but where are those things, for example? Those were ideas for Breath of the Wild that didn't make it in. Or the Sheikah stuff as well, like the Divine Beasts. Imagine if they were dragged down by Ganondorf, half devoured by gloom, laying there in the depths, or broken, fallen over Sheikah towers. The depths are empty, just like the sky. I'm not even going to start to talk about something like the Bargana statues or various points of interest and why they even exist, because they all don't have a single explanation. Yes, things have been always vague in the Zelda series, but never to this extent. None of the things you see here and there have any explanation at all. What about the Shrine of Resurrection and it going somewhere in the DLC? Now it's just rocks. The final boss area in Breath of the Wild, the Astral Observatory, that's a massive area, dude. But how is it just rocks now? Like it doesn't even exist or never has existed before. Tears of the Kingdom goes actively against the established lore even from previous games. The secret stones are now more powerful than the Triforce and the Master Sword and the... What are those stones? Not explained. Why is Ganondorf even mad to begin with? Not explained. How the hell has Ganondorf such good eyes that he can see those stones from miles away? Not explained. Why can Ganondorf transform into some god and can overpower all of the sages combined, including Mineru? And why was she there to begin with? Can she even fight? And is the rest of the sages just too incapable themselves? And there are different kinds of secret stones? I don't know. Ganondorf has pulled a ultra rare one, or had a 1% chance of being perfectly in sync with his stone and allow the transformation. I don't know, man. And talking about the sages, who are they? Why are they? Once again, the sages were powerful and important people in previous games. They all had character and were people you cared about. Who are they? It's so unfortunate to say, but the games don't even give you any time to connect with the characters. When Sonia died, I couldn't care less. Where's my well-developed character like Midna or the King of Red Lions or Fi, where I actually start to care over some time? I feel like I'm starting to rant here, but yeah, I definitely do that. Even though that's not the point of this video, really. For a game that has been in development for such a long time, as no other Zelda game in the series before, I don't see where that time went. If all of that time just went into the physics and some abilities for your hand, I personally don't think it was worth it. But that's just me. I think the fact that the trailers also showed off a bigger focus on story and the Sky Islands while also taking so incredibly long and really not providing on any of those points, saying that you don't understand those people complaining feels like ignorance to me. Sure, I had a lot of fun during the game, and all the VODs are here. You can see how much I enjoy playing the game. But that looks like a good place. Oh, what the hell? Oh my god. He's still following me. Link, just jump. You are... Oh. Phantom Gammon? So much groundwork and things they have established and teased in this game, also regarding the zone eyes, but for nothing, it seems like. I don't remember the last time I had that many questions about a game's story even after finishing it. Also, no one in Hateno knows Link. He lives there with Zelda for who knows how long. Hey stranger, welcome in our village. What? Beside those funny building compilations on YouTube, I see nothing else content-wise for this game, which feels weird. Personally speaking, I thought I was being weird for feeling like that about the game, but now that there's more and more videos online with people sharing their honest opinion, I am glad not to be the only one thinking like that. I already see a lot of negative comments and a lot of dislikes raining, but I'm just stating my opinion here, as someone who has been playing Zelda games since A Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo. And yeah, I also forgot to talk about the dungeons. They are just different looking divine beasts, man. Where are my actual puzzles? You know, like a real dungeon. Me trying to figure out stuff for longer than just a few minutes. These dungeons really weren't that difficult. The bosses were cool though. Thank Hylia they were different. But hey, who cares about our opinion if the game sells as good as they never have been before, right? Nintendo should make more in the same style. And no, I don't think that this is your usual Zelda cycle where people hate it because it's new and be in mad love after a while. The game is really good and mad impressive considering the limitations it had. But for the first time ever in a Zelda game, I have no intentions to go back, since I finished the main story. I don't see why I should. The rewards in this game are also ridiculously lackluster. Half of the shrines were blessing shrines with a big battery or a magic staff. Most of the other stuff is just recycled Breath of the Wild content. Anyways, I could go on, and these discussions had been talked about online a ridiculous amount of times now. I'm simply passionate about the series, and Tears of the Kingdom could have been so much more. But so be it. In a nutshell, Nintendo has set the wrong expectations for the game, in my opinion. And the focus wasn't the Sky Islands or the story, it's the gimmicks. The Zonai devices, your hand abilities, and the sandbox-like gameplay. That was the main focus. But Nintendo pretended there to be some bigger mystery. Remembering also Aonuma mentioning the golden trees in the sky and it's a mystery. There is no mystery. This whole game has no mystery, because there is zero backstory for anything. All of it is simply not interesting. And that's the reason why so many people, including me, also feel negative about the game. And if you think that this is not justified, then I don't know what to tell you. Maybe Nintendo will see the complaints and will learn from them, but what do I know? Right, these were my 2 cents on the whole matter. I'd love to hear your take on it. Once again, please keep it respectful in the comments. And I wish you all a fantastic rest of your day. Have a good one, folks. See you later.